Hey guys, so this is Chris coming at you all with another update. This is a bit overdue, but better late than never, right? So this video is going to be about how my trip back home was, and also what things have been like since my trip back home. And if you all didn't watch my last video, this was my first trip home since coming out to my mom. So this video is going to be about how that trip went and what it's been like because today is officially 2 weeks since I was at home. If you didn't see the last video, I'm going to include an iCard over that way. It'll be up here somewhere so you all can check it out. So I'm going to be looking at my phone a little bit because I took notes about just each day. So day one was pretty low key. I got home like Sunday night. I'm sorry, Saturday night. I was actually home July 29th, like that night through July 31st, but I left in the afternoon so that I can get back. Actually, no, I left in like the evening so I can get back to Baltimore and get back to work the following Tuesday, that next day. So I'm just gonna do a quick recap. So day one, my mom got me from the airport and we went to her apartment and she made veggie stir fry, veggie egg rolls, and we had some ice cream and watched TV. I don't eat meat, so I really appreciate that she always makes sure that there's something that I can eat at home. My younger brother, who, as a side note, identifies as genderqueer, also doesn't eat meat, so she really makes the extra effort to make sure that she has stuff that we can eat when we go home, which is really awesome. So that's what we did. She broke the ice by mentioning how she was feeling about getting the letter, and it was overwhelming for her, which is what I kind of knew would be the case. And so I was trying to be mindful of when I was sending it, but I couldn't really help but to send it when I did. But it was overwhelming for her, and she mentioned that I had sent another letter basically a year ago, which is true. She told me that she's kept the letter to herself because she hasn't known how to break the ice with her family, and religion has always been a very important part of my family, so it's hard to figure out how you can break the ice when you don't even talk about things anyway, but especially if it has anything to do with religion, we just don't talk about it. So she's kept it to herself. And I told her that one of my cousins knows, even though I didn't tell her directly, she does know. Um, she also said that when she got the letter, she realized that she actually needs to go to therapy. She had already gotten the referral to go, but she didn't actually take the initiative to go to therapy until she got my letter. So that was something that was kind of cool. Um, and she really wants to build up our relationship, and not just for me, but for my brothers, because she wants us to feel okay talking to her. So that's basically all that we talked about the first night. It was kind of like a long night, so we didn't really get into anything in particular. But she did continue to call me by my birth name. But she goes between my birth name and calling me Chris, so it just kind of depends. But she still used she, her, and she, her pronouns. And it was a long day, so like I didn't expect that we would have a super intense conversation that day. But that's what happened day one. Okay, so day two, um, my mom had already asked me before I went home if I wanted to go to church with her, and I was cool with that. So day two, we went to church, and her best friend came. While we were eating, we went to eat after going to church, and while we were eating, my mom called my aunt, and she only has one sister, so she's my only aunt on my mom's side. And my mom handed me the phone, and when I said hello, my aunt didn't recognize my voice. So I told her it was me, and she was fine after she knew it was me. I ended up meeting up with her and one of my uncles to go see the movie Girls Trip, which was pretty funny. My uncle, the one that I met up with, is actually gay, so it should be interesting figuring out or seeing or hearing, finding out his response is going to be interesting when I let him know that I'm trans and that I'm on testosterone. When we left the theater, we called my grandparents, and I hadn't seen them since December, so the plan was for me to go see them for a little bit. We weren't going to go at first, but then my uncle needed to use a bathroom, so we stopped at his house. At their house, I mean. Again, when I called the house, my grandfather answered, and he didn't know who I was. And before I left, my grandmother asked me why my voice was hoarse. So obviously she doesn't have any reason to think that I'm on testosterone, so to her it just sounds like I have a hoarse voice. but I wasn't quite expecting that. I didn't think that they were going to notice that quickly. Um, but I think they're starting to pick up that my voice is changing. So again, my mom and I we went home and just watched TV. Um, we didn't talk about anything in particular on this Sunday, the next day. But she did ask me about when I was going to therapy next and how I found my support group. And we said that we were going to take out our list that we made. Basically, when she called me to tell me that she had gotten her letter and that she had gone to therapy, her therapist recommended that we write down a list of questions we have, our feelings, things that we want to say. So we both did that, and our agreement was that on Monday we would have a conversation. Um, she said something that I thought was really insightful. She said that we're not going to have every question answered after this weekend, and that the conversation that we were going to have on Monday would be the beginning of talking more. So I don't have any more notes now, so I'm just going to be looking at the camera. So when we talked on Monday, my mom brought her questions to me, and her questions were honestly like really great. And to start, she more or less said, these were her three questions. She said, how do you feel about the pictures that I have on the wall? She's very sentimental, so she has pictures of me from like birth through like my first year as a teacher. And she's like, how do you feel about it? And I guess she had brought it to her therapist, and her therapist said to ask me how I felt about it. I told her it was fine. I don't necessarily want to erase that part of my life because it's who I was before now. It's still a part of who I am even today. So we talked about that. Her next question is, how will people look at her, or how will they like treat her differently because of the choice that I've decided to make. And then she also asked if I had thought about how I want to tell the rest of the family. So all of these are really thoughtful questions. She also said that she doesn't necessarily what I'm choosing to do doesn't fit her philosophy of life. But in the same breath, she also acknowledged that if I've been feeling depressed, stressed, and like discomfort around who I am, then what I'm experiencing is real, which I really appreciated because I think I took that as saying that maybe she doesn't fully agree with what I'm doing, but it's real for me, and she can acknowledge that, and that's better than what some people can get. Um, what I ended up telling her is that I really didn't know what to expect because there have been people who just get disowned by their parents, and I gave her an example, and she was kind of in shock. I also told her that part of the reason why I wanted to move away from home was to see new things, but also because I knew that I could be myself in a way that I can't be myself when I'm at home and dealing with judgment. Um, and she kind of was like, I mentioned earlier that my uncle is gay, so her having seen him grow and be the person that he is today has kind of made her more open-minded, which I can kind of see. So I think, long story short, we didn't get to all the questions. We didn't do all the answering. We didn't talk about everything. One thing that she did say though was that if I decide to go through the surgery, meaning top surgery, that it'll be a loss for her because I'm the only girl that she had. And when I mentioned that to my therapist, she was like, "Well, isn't your brother genderqueer?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." So in her mind, she thought I was the only girl she had. Wasn't totally right. But yeah, it is gonna be a loss for her. So I recognize that, and I understand that it's gonna take her time to process things, and that things are not gonna be perfect. Pronouns are not always going to be right. She's not always going to call me Chris. So I'm just working with it. And I feel like my therapist also said something that was really insightful. She said, if she's making this much of an effort and if it's genuine and she's really trying to build up that kind of relationship with you, it means that she's going to have to try to gain some understanding of what it is that you're going through, what it is that you're experiencing, and like why you've come to this decision. So in short, I think my therapist thinks that she's going to come around. And two of my friends who I let know what was going on as it was happening have also said that they think that she'll come around. I don't know that she will, but I do know that she loves me and that she's not going to disown me and that she will continue talking to me and hearing me out. And just because she's talking to me and hearing me out doesn't necessarily mean that she's condemning me or that she's agreeing. She just wants to be there for me, which I really appreciate. Something else that she found out. She found out about my girlfriend. she already knew that I was dating someone, but we never talked about it. So she knows about my girlfriend now, and she's been asking me questions about her too. Again, we talked about things that we had never talked about before, so I'm grateful for that. And I'm hoping that, things continue getting better and that we get to a point where she can acknowledge my pronouns and acknowledge the fact that I prefer being called Chris. Um, Now, today, like I said, is officially 2 weeks since I was home. What I can say is that, again, she has made a conscious effort to talk to me every day. If it's not a phone call, it's a text message. She's also been asking me about my girlfriend, and just kind of seeing how things are going there. Um, Other than that, that's just been something that she's really been putting an effort into. And we always have talked, but we've been talking literally every day, which has been pretty cool. I'm trying to think. Did we talk yesterday? We might not have talked yesterday, but like for the most part, it's been every day. And if it's not every day, it's because she's at work. And if she is at work, if I text her or call her, she usually gets back to me. Now, last night I told one of my brothers that I am trans and that I'm on testosterone. I think he had an idea, but he hadn't heard from me necessarily. So my brother, who's in New York and is genderqueer, knows. This particular brother that I told last night, he's gay, so he knows now. And so there's one more brother that I need to tell, and I'm probably gonna write him a letter because chances are when I go home next, I'll be home August 21st through 25th, and then I'm gonna be going to Afropunk August 26th and 27th, and I'm leaving Brooklyn on the 28th to come back to Baltimore. So before I go on this next trip home, there's a couple things I want to do. I definitely want to prepare a letter to write my brother and send it to him so that he knows, because the next time he sees me, granted, it'll be sometime in the next couple of weeks, he's going to notice some things. My voice is definitely different. He's probably going to notice this up here and probably this down here too. And I don't want him to be shocked or like confused. I want to give him a heads up. But I'm most likely also going to prepare to tell my aunt and my uncles, so my mom's siblings. I am holding off on my grandparents for right now because, like, I'm not expecting a positive response from them, and I would rather see how things go with telling everyone else and then, like, build up to telling them eventually. So for right now, I still have my brother to go, and I still have aunt and uncles to tell. And so I think that's going to be my focus leading up to when I leave, just so I can start preparing myself mentally for that. And I'm proud of myself because like I didn't think that I would ever come out the first time, but to come out a second time and not just to my mom, but starting to branch out into other people. Because my uncle, who I've mentioned in this video a couple times, he now knows about my girlfriend too. I don't know how he didn't know. I feel like he's just not on Facebook and social media enough to really see, but he knows now too. So I feel like I'm coming into myself more, and I'm getting comfortable and starting to be okay and like not be concerned about what people think and how they feel, because at the end of the day, how I feel is the most important, and if I'm not okay, then nothing else really matters. But if I am okay, I'm good. Like, so that's pretty much all I have to share about this trip home and these past 2 weeks. It went better than I could have imagined that it would have. I know that there will be some tough times to come, but I'm also hoping that there are more positive times to come too, because so far, everyone who has found out so far, none of them has disowned me, none of them has talked down to me about it or anything like that. So I'm hoping for more positive responses as I go on, and I'll keep you all updated about how this next visit goes. What I'll be doing next, probably on this channel, um, I'm almost 3 months on T, which is kind of crazy, and the official 3 month on T date will be August 22nd. I'm going to be at home, and I don't necessarily want to be recording a video at home. So I'm probably going to be making a video next weekend. So probably like about a week from today, me making a video. If not next weekend, it'll probably be the weekend after that. And just like letting you all know my updates. If you all have any questions or need advice or just want to chat, let me know. I will leave my social media contacts in the description box below. But that's all I have for today. So I want to thank you all for watching. And I hope you all have a great Saturday. Peace.